Gundam.tk presents Real Grade Skygrasper and Launcher Sword Pack. Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs, 2Bs from GundamReviews.net. And as the Real Grade Strike spins around there, you'll notice that he's looking a little bit underdressed, and that's because the plates are empty, which means that the parts are put together, which means we can add the launcher and the sword packs onto that. But first, it's time to take a look at the parts and the Skygrasper itself. I haven't put on very many of the decals, but you can see the Skygrasper, you're going to have the sword pack, the launcher pack, and don't forget that you get the ale already included with it. And make sure you have a bag on hand to keep all the extras, including a set of manipulators. You've got an action-based attachment in there, landing gear for the Skygrasper, beam effect parts, you've got 3 of them to go along with parts that will attach the strike packs onto an action base if you just want them to stand up behind the Gundam. To kick things off with the title bearer, the Skygrasper itself. And the first thing that I've got to say is when you're putting it together, it's only a couple pages here. You can see that it's really only a full page there in length, and then you move on to the Sword Striker pack. But putting this thing together took a lot of time, and that's because it's a testament to how many small details there are in there, but also just how complicated these things have gotten. I can imagine that the perfect grade would have a lot of the same features, just in much larger scale, so it's going to take some patience and a little bit of skill putting it together, but then again, if you can follow directions, they do make it easy for you. Anyway, when you're actually looking at the details, you've got tons of color applications there, from the black to a little bit, or very little gray there, but you've got the yellow and the blue and the white, which is going to look good. I decided to go with gray lining there, and they do give you a fair number of opportunities, even though I didn't take them up on all of them. The most noticeable feature, though, has to be the fact that you've actually got a nice clear cockpit there, with 2 clear parts and a little tiny pilot inside. Now, to open this up doesn't seem to be the best, I haven't figured out a better way to do it, but basically you can detach the front parts, and when you do that then, you are able to open that up, but then you just have to put all of this stuff back on. So if there is a better way, please let me know down in the comments. But as to the rest of the body, everything is looking pretty good, including the underside, which you'd think wouldn't get that much details, but you can see the way the white, the 2 shades of white, or the gray there, to go along with the black and the blue and the yellow, just amazing color wraps. But it's the actual little details in the form of the weapons. You've got these here that I put on a few of the seals. I skipped out on most of them, but you can see the little black parts there inside the vents, and the highlight has to be this gun up here, which is going to spin around, move up and down, and basically look good in any direction. These fins back here are very easy to knock off, so you've got to be a little bit careful with that. You can see that we're going to have an attachment point there when you're plugging in the backpacks, but the real winner has to be just the fact that you can take these parts here, and that you can move them forward and back. And that's going to come into play depending on which strike packs you've got on there, and you'll notice that very similar to the way the strike has his shoulders, this one has its own shoulder packs on there, so you can take everything and you can imagine how easy, well, hopefully easy it is to attach everything on. Now, there are some great details to this, like when you're putting on the landing gear, there's these little off-color things. They're not the same white panels down there. Now, these ones are easy to pop off, and when you pop them off, you don't need your Ziploc because you can actually take them and plug them into the landing gear before attaching everything on. You're going to have a little bit more difficulty there attaching it or getting this panel out of the front though, so you'll probably need your modeler's knife. With the landing gear in the right way, you can see that it's going to be risen off the ground a fair amount, but the front, the nose just looks to be a little bit too low, but they do give you the option. You have 2 sets of front landing gear, so even though I'm following the one that it says in the manual, you can use the longer one as well. I wonder if that's going to have an impact depending on how big the packs are when you attach them onto the shoulders/thrusters back there. To size comparison, I suppose, where you can see it next to the Strike Gundam, and it's certainly not going to be all that substantial, although certainly a lot larger than, let's say, a core fighter from the RX-78-2. If you stand it up, you can see that it's going to be about this, and the nose is going to go up to the midpoint of the chest, you could say. And if you're going for a diorama set, you can see that it's not going to fill up that much space here, including of the hangar. But if this kit was just about the Skygrasper, there's a good chance I wouldn't be getting it, because it's all about the strike packs. Here, the launcher one in particular, this is the shoulder mount, and just putting this together was an absolute treat with all the color applications and the mechanical details inside. Starting with the fact that you've got these really cool looking green parts here, which are going to go around this nice deep red. It's going to look very good there. Too bad that you don't see any from the front, but from the back you're going to see those nice little details. Would have been cool, I suppose, if they had cut out some out there, but from the side it's going to look great no matter which angle you look at it from. For the actual barrel itself, you can see the black back there with the green, or the yellow to go with the green. And then you've got some nice little barrels on there, green parts there, and you can put on even more stickers if you want to bring this to life. And the red little parts up here are great, and these yellow tips certainly bring this thing alive. I think this is one of the best features so far of the kit, and when you're putting it together, it's just a lot of fun. To the BFG itself though, you can see that the backpack is going to have the same mount that we've seen with the Ale. This part itself just feels very, very cheap. It is a couple pieces, but I wouldn't call it anything exciting whatsoever. But you can see here that it's going to attach in, and then you can detach that, and when you do that, you're going to get these great points of motion over here. This part is going to rotate, this part is on a ball joint, this part is going to spin, this part is going to spin, and it's going to bend all around. So you can just imagine that pretty much I don't think you're going to be limited in any way with what you can do with it. When you're looking at the actual details there, you can see that it does have some inner frame there that you're going to put the green parts around. Most of it's hidden in the back though, and because the colors aren't so different, you're not going to see it all that much, but it's still much better to have it. You've got these yellow parts down below, one up there, sort of. I'd have to check the seals more carefully to see if one goes on there. Doesn't seem to. And then you've got this nice little detail of the yellow up at the front, and if you look inside, there's actually yellow, but you're never ever going to see that, it seems. In terms of moving parts, you've got this part down here, which can pivot around, which is going to be good in terms of a handle. And overall, I'd say it looks great, although it is very green. A little bit more inner frame would have been nice, but that movable arm makes up for it. And unlike the blue, which has its easy to discolor parts, the green parts, all you need is a green Real Touch marker. For any Zaku fans, I'm sure you may have one of those around. Very easy to fix up these discolorations. For the sword strike though, it's nice that you've got the two colors of blue, although it is going to set up a little bit of a problem because I do have a fair number of Real Touch markers around, but I don't quite have the right one to get rid of this, so I'm just going to have a little bit of discoloration around there unless I ever get around to fixing that somehow. So if you're going to sand it down and do it, I'm sure you can do a better job. The inner frame is going to look good. It's cool that you've got this dark blue on the inside there and it shows through from the front and the side. You can see lining opportunities there. And this part, what you're going to do is when you plug it in, you've just got these shoulder parts here. Let me see if I can show you how this works. And you can just see that plug in. And these are probably some of my favorite parts because they've got these hose little details here. And these parts, you can imagine that they're very easy to drop when you're putting it together, so be very careful. And then you're going to have this part up here, which is going to look great. It detaches easily. It doesn't have a different color down there, but they do go as far as putting some black inner frame in there. Little blue details, again, bring it to life. And when you put in the pink effect parts, you're going to have two different lengths here, and you can see that one's a little bit skinnier than the other one with just a little bit less angry flames at the bottom, but still great that they've actually got these raised out here. It's cool that you can switch them out either side, and I just wonder, they don't say anything about it in the manual, but those of you who have seen my Master Grade Destiny review, if you get the special version, they do encourage you that you can put these in warm water and bend them, although these ones just seem a little bit solid compared to what I remember from the Destiny. To the sword pack though, which is also going to be a little bit disappointing, similar to the launcher one, just in that there's nothing fancy about this, it just feels like hollow plastic. Although it is at least a little bit detailed, if you painted that up I'm sure you could bring it to life, but as it is, it just feels like something a bit of an afterthought. However, it's easy, as you can see, to take the sword on and off, and you can see that this part is going to rotate around, which is sort of cool. You can turn that in. And then for the rest of the details, look at the color apps. At least you're getting white, and on top of the blue and the black there, you can put some lining in there. Don't expect it to move though. That's something that I'm really used to with the Master Grade Force Impulse, and I think that's one of the greatest swords I think Gundam has ever seen. The white down at the end is a little bit cool. I wonder how it would look if you painted it up in silver, but I do like to have the white, this light blue, to go along with the dark blue. And even though nothing moves per se, except for this part down here, and this part can open up pretty easily, it's still looking very impressive. And to really bring it to life, you can see that there's an attachment point there and there. You take this part, plug it in, you're going to have to just bend it into place there, and you can see that it's got a little bit of separation there, and again the angry flames of doom at the bottom and the top. So when Strike goes for a swing, even though this actually seems a little bit small, it's still cool because you've got that big angry tip there. Not to forget this part for the sword pack, where you can also take this. Basically you're going to have this attached on at the bottom, and it's looking great again because of the black and the blue on blue there. Lots of edging opportunities. Cool thing in the back there, this is where you're going to attach a little ball joint thing that will attach into the forearm. And what you can do is you can see that these will open, but that's not very impressive if you're just grabbing it like that. But if you take the lead that's included and plug that in, and then you go down here, all of a sudden this is something that if you shot it off, I suppose it looks like it could cause a little bit of pain. And for comparison's sake, here you can see the launcher next to the sword, and the sword is going to take the edge there. And if you line them up with the Strike, all of a sudden that pink part doesn't look too small and out of proportion. Everything does seem impressively majestic in size. For the extras that are going to stay in your bag, you can see that there's a lot of attachment points. These are things to get the Strike pack or the Ale pack onto the back of the Sky Grasper. And you can see that some of these are going to be used when you're displaying these things. And it's great that you do get the extra set of manipulators. That's certainly never a bad thing when you're trying to get the hands just right around that sword. So as you can see from the state of my table, this thing is going to have a lot of little parts and some of them are a little bit finicky. It's still fun to put together, but it just feels like there's a lot of extras and things that you may not use all that much. But the Skygrasper itself is a lot of fun to put together, although it is a little bit small and perhaps frustrating if you're not a fan of building vehicles as opposed to mobile suits. But don't forget everybody, there's a lot of attachment possibilities, so stay tuned for the next part where the most important one is going to be how the launcher and sword strike Gundam actually look. But in the meantime, why don't you let me know what you think with a comment down below, and thanks for watching everybody. See you next part. Hardly first class.